So today we're actually going to be talking about an interview that Kamala Harris had with the podcast, or interview that she had with the podcast All the Smoke. So I watched the full thing. It's about 45 minutes if I'm not mistaken. And I'll be honest, she doesn't really start talking about politics until about the 21 minute mark, which is almost halfway through, is when she actually starts talking about politics. Because before she was talking about how she met her husband on a blind date and how she's good with her husband's children's mother and how she's cool with the kids. And I'm like, y'all, you came all the way to the White House to ask this? I mean, we could have, you know what I mean? I mean, this could have just not happened, because in all reality, there wasn't much of anything on there that was being said. One of the things that I really thought about when I was watching it, before we even get into what was actually in there, was about Hurricane Helene, which actually happened, affecting several states: Tennessee, Virginia, Georgia, North Carolina, Florida. And there was a lot of damage. And I was wondering, I said, well, I don't know when this could have been recorded. This could have been something like a Willie D. Cat Williams situation that was recorded 3 months before it was put out. I don't know. So I was like, okay, I don't know when this was recorded. But I was like, if it was recorded, let's say yesterday, why are you on a podcast when you should be down there because you are the VP? Shouldn't you be helping out citizens? I mean, you are the VP. What you doing on a podcast, girl? So that was my main issue with that, because I was like, why are we even doing this? I was like, no, we got to cancel this because I got to go down here. I got things to do. I got to make sure monies are something, so whatever. But then they actually get into the topic of mental health, because one of the hosts asked about mental health, and he was saying, how it's important. And she was saying, yes, it's very important. Every morning she gets up and she, gets to working out and everything. Then a question came up about how you have Black men who want to help out Black boys in the community and grow, and what her opinions were on that, and it's pretty much nothing. And I was like, okay. Then he was like, okay, here's a question. So I was like, okay, now we're getting into a little something. So then he asked, one of the hosts asked a question about what is your economic plan for the average American who was typically living paycheck to paycheck? What you gonna do? So then she was mentioning how her mother and her sister were living in an apartment that was above a building, I'm assuming a mixed use apartment, and it was rented to them by some lady that lived down the street. I'm like, I guess this was her relevance to the middle class. And she never answered the question, y'all. I cannot make this up. I can't make it up. She never answered the question. And I'm like, what? I think I even rewound it a little bit. I said, maybe I missed something. But she didn't answer the question. So then she started talking about small businesses and giving them a deduction of $50,000. And she was like, yeah, because they only have it at $5,000 right now. Then I thought, so people are living paycheck to paycheck. They hardly have any money in the savings, if they have anything. And your solution to that is to tell them to start up a business, have a small business coming out of their own pocket with no assistance from the government until they make a certain amount of money to have a $50,000 tax deduction. I said, that don't make sense. And then she was talking about how she wants to give $25,000 to first-time home buyers. And I'm like, that still doesn't help out the people who can't afford the houses, or the people who got a house and maybe they're, the HOA fees, the taxes, because, oh, your stuff is higher now. When I said, what? So, sorry, that's my own personal thing. But, I go and look at all that stuff and I'm like, okay, but if you don't have money to afford it first, or if you're still struggling to do your thing now, you can't get it on either end. I said, okay, sure. And I'm like, is she even really planning on helping out the middle? She's talking about how she was middle class, but then she didn't help out the middle class. She wasn't saying anything about helping out the middle class. And then she was saying, oh, now you don't have to go and take out student loans. I mean, you could take out equity out of your house with the $25,000 for first-time home buyers. Okay. I can now take out student loans. Shouldn't you guys be running again? Wasn't Biden running to get the student loans canceled? So shouldn't you be running again? I don't. Wasn't Biden saying I'm gonna get the student loans to be zero? I'm gonna get rid of them. And then I go look at you, and then now you're saying, oh, well, I'm not going to, I mean, you ain't got to worry about getting the student loans. Could we just take equity out your house? So there's still going to be student loans. Then she started talking about a $6,000 tax credit. Then the thing that really got me was the topic went to weed. And she was saying how, people shouldn't go for, go to prison or jail for smoking weed or anything. I said, but didn't you admit to doing it before and then you prosecuted thousands upon thousands of people? You prosecuted thousands upon thousands of people, and then now you're saying, my bad. What? And you weren't advocating against it either. So I guess I'm confused about all of it. Overall, this is my first time ever watching this podcast, and it will be my last unless I do something again where I'm talking about it, because this was not good. All they gave were like these softball questions. There was nothing of substance to which they were speaking about. And then the title is All the Smoke. What smoke were you giving her? Because every question, half the interview was talking about her personal life. Let me know what you think down below.